Hello, people of the internet. I'm Nikita. Have you ever wondered what on earth you're meant to be doing with your life? Because I definitely have. So I made a theory of change for my career. I always wondered why social impact organizations and companies had these, but people didn't. I'm going to share with you my very own personal theory of change framework. I'm going to show you how to craft your very own version and link your motivations, your aspirations, and goals to your daily activities. Say goodbye to feeling lost, confused, and frustrated in a sea of what you're supposedly meant to be doing, but don't actually want to do. Let's get to it. So in this video, I'm going to walk you through a 4-step theory of change framework that is AI powered. So you're going to get the help of Notion AI to take all the input that you put into this Notion doc and create a completely personal theory of change for your career. So, as I mentioned here, this is just meant to be an initial guide. This isn't meant to be a reflection of your life's calling or anything. Once the AI has generated the initial skeleton, it's up to you to tweak it and change it as you see fit. So, step number 1 is all about envisioning a future. The main question that we want to answer here is, what do you want the world to look like in 100 years? So some things I want you to consider here are, what does your ideal day look like in 100 years' time? What type of world do you want to see your children live in? And are there any particular tech advancements that need to happen to enable that future to exist? So as you can see here, I've done a quick example where I've just plugged in a few words about the world that I envision. One thing to note about this template is the more information that you can feed it, the more powerful and accurate your AI theory of change is actually going to be. So then step 2 is all about understanding your methods and tools. So the core question here is, what are the core methods, tools, and skills you in particular can use as you work towards your theory of change? So personally, I've written a little bit here about the fact that I'm a linguist by background. I've had roles across growth and data and learning design. I'm also a writer. And so it's going to take all of those experiences and particular skills I have and take that into account when it generates a theory of change that's personal to me. So the third step is all around identifying key blockers to this future that you envision. So we really want to figure out what are the institutional blockers, the bureaucratic blockers, the financial, cultural, linguistic blockers to creating this future. This is really important because one aspect of your theory of change is going to be all about assumptions that we're making. So in my case, the first one I pointed out is this financial blocker. So without some form of universal basic or conditional income, the majority of people won't have a safety net. I've also picked out a cultural or market education barrier that I see to my vision, and there are probably many more, but I haven't gone into a huge amount of detail here. This will probably be quite a long section and really one that you want to think about in terms of many different lenses. And again, that will just help the AI generate a much more accurate theory of change for you. And then the final step, step 4, is all about redesigning systems and institutions. So given this vision that you have of the world, and given the blockers that you foresee, the assumptions that you're making, what institutions and systems do you feel need to be redesigned to build towards your vision of the world, and how do they need to be redesigned? So I've given you some examples here, everything from educational institutions to political institutions like government, local councils, municipal groups, all the way to research institutions, economic institutions like the labour market, kinship structures, and funding structures. Now there's countless more that might be particularly relevant to whatever your use case or theory of change is. In this instance, I've mentioned educational institutions, labour markets, kinship structures, and funding structures. Again, the more detail you can add here about why those structures and systemic issues might be blockers to this future, the more interesting and insightful your theory of change is going to be. So then the last step is to generate your theory of change. So you'll see here a box like this that basically has an AI prompt that I have created to enable this doc to take all the information that you've plugged in and create something that's personal to you. So all we're going to do is just click the generate button, in this case the send to AI button, and it is going to generate a fresh copy for us that is broken down into, as you can see here, my 100-year vision, my long-term goals, any assumptions that I'm making, the key activities and projects that I could work on, some short-term outputs that would be great to create, and then the longer-term outcomes of me working towards this theory of change. So that's all for today. I hope this was helpful. And remember, this is just an initial guide, but I'm super excited to see what comes out of this for you.